Welcome back to GMA3. According to the recent CDC study, millions of seniors in the U.S. cannot afford their prescription medication.
And now Oklahoma Senator James Lankford is calling for reforms to the pharmaceutical industry that he says will bring costs down. Here to discuss is Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. Thank you so much for being with us today. I mean, this is a subject everyone's talking about right now, just how expensive health care is here in the U.S. You and a group of bipartisan legislators are calling for reforms specifically to pharmacy benefit managers. Could you please explain to us, what are pharmacy benefit managers? What do they do?
Yeah, that is one of the most common questions. Everyone says, what is a PBM? They've never heard of a pharmacy benefit manager. And they say, I've never talked to a pharmacy benefit manager. Is because they are the middleman. They're the one in between. They're between the drug companies, the insurance companies, the pharmacists, and the patients. They're facilitating the price negotiation, but they're actually the ones actually setting the formulary. They determine often, if you get a generic drug, a biosimilar, or a brand drug, what that cost is. And they're also negotiating with all of them so that they increase profits and everyone else's detriment in it. I don't mind companies trying to be able to facilitate the transfer and to be able to make a profit. But right now, they're deliberately driving rural pharmacies out of business and trying to tell people, especially in rural areas, sorry, you got to do all mail-in, or you've got to go to one of our pharmacies. And that independent pharmacy that everyone counts on, especially in rural areas, that's the spot where you go to get healthcare advice. They're the ones open all the time that you walk into your pharmacist and say, I take 3 different drugs. Is this okay? Or I'm not feeling good. What do you think I should do? That pharmacist becomes the primary person for a lot of people. And if they're driven out of business by these pharmacy benefit managers, major problem for Americans.
So how do these reforms bring down the costs?
So a couple things. One is just increased competition. One is to be able to prevent some of the things that they're doing where they're actually gaming the system. So for instance, a lot of people, when they go to their pharmacy, they've got a brand name drug on their prescription. They say, is there a generic on it? And if you hear someone ever at the pharmacy counter say there is, but it's the same price, the reason for that is the pharmacy benefit manager is negotiated with a drug company or an insurance company to drive out the generic. When the generic is gone, because people will choose the brand at that point, when generics are gone, then the prices shoot back up again on it. They're using these rebates, but the rebates are not coming to the consumer. They're coming back to the insurance company or the drug company on it. So we're trying to be able to get the rebates to go to the consumer on that, so it brings the price down, and we can balance out the playing field between generics and brands, so to make sure people get a cheaper option there if they choose to do that.
All right, Senator, earlier this year, the Biden administration announced a deal that would lower the cost of drugs for Medicare recipients. How would these reforms work on top of that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can do this. One, you can increase competition. When you increase competition and there's more competition, the price goes down because the different companies are competing. That's what we're trying to be able to do. What the Biden administration was doing with Medicare is that they were picking 10 drugs they considered the highest price, and they were forcing them to be able to bring the price down on those 10 drugs, or literally they would close their company down. So I'm more of a free market. Let's make sure we can let the market actually run and get greater competition. If there's somebody like the PBMs that are blocking competition, let's fix that so that we have free market competition and get more options rather than fewer options. Just a different way to be able to take this.
Let's talk about the president-elect's pick for Intel chief, Tulsi Gabbard. A lot of lawmakers are not happy about this, and you got a chance to actually meet with her. Is she qualified for the job?
Well, everybody that walks into this job, it's a difficult task to be able to take on. Anyone who hasn't done it before, you're on the job training for this. She's served in the military. She has top secret clearance. I mean, so she's been around classified documents. She's been around the intel community before. She's also been a skeptic on some of these things. For instance, she's voted against 702 in the past, which is the authority that's used for foreign surveillance. So because she really wants to be able to protect civil rights. What we think the president is trying to do is to be able to put someone in to say, hey, I want someone that's going to look at the agency, that's a skeptic of the agencies, to make sure that we're really watching out. But she is very much a patriot. She's very passionate about the nation. There's all these weird rumors that are out there that she's a Russian plant, which is absurd in the process. She's fought for our nation, serves in our country's military right now. And so for me, I look at her after spending an hour and a half with her this week in my office to be able to figure out, okay, what are the next questions? What are the next issues we need to deal with? And how can she actually bring confidence to the intel community, where we need them to have confidence, because they are people doing an incredible job for the benefit of our country.
Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, thank you for being on. We appreciate it and good to see you.
You bet. Good to see y'all.